So we now will start with the panel discussion. So I call upon our moderator for this session, Dr. Narinder Kumar Bhasin, Head Professional Development Center, North Zone, IIBF. And along with him, I call upon Mr. Reginald Neri, Senior Vice President and Chief Audit Executive, Bankers Institute of the Philippines, Mr. Rajesh Kumar Ram, General Manager, Digital Banking, Bank of India, and Mr. Jalpesh Shah, Head Data Science, Credit Analytics and Innovation, HDFC Bank Limited, and Mr. Buchi Babu, IT Advisory Board Member, Punjab Bank, to the dais. So while they settle down, introduction about our panel members. Mr. Reggie Neri, Board Member, Bankers Institute of the Philippines, is the Chief Audit Executive of Bank of Commerce with the rank Senior Vice President. Prior to joining Bank of Commerce, he was a partner and Head of Technology, Performance and Governance Group and IT Committee Chairman of Dias Murillo Dalupa Company, Certified Public Accountants. He is a former Risk Advisory Service Partner, Chief Information Officer, and National IT Security Officer of KPMG Philippines. He is credited with more than 40 years of business exposure in external and internal audit, corporate governance, risk management, business process environment, etc. Mr. Neri also contributed articles to KPMG Corner under the business section of the Philippine Star as Moving Towards Enterprise Risk Management, Moving Towards Information Technology Governance, and other articles. Our next panel member, Mr. Rajesh Kumar Ram, is a visionary leader with a passion for innovation and social service. With an illustrious career over 3 decades, he continues to drive digital adoption. Mr. Ram joined the banking sector as a probationary officer in 1990 and brings over 34 years of experience as he has worked in Kenya and Singapore. Currently overseeing digital banking operations at Bank of India, he previously served as a Chief Information Officer, managing domestic and foreign data center operations, including those of sponsored regional rural banks. He sits on the boards of SWIFT India, Bank of India Uganda Limited, and Bank of India Shareholding Limited, and holds certification from the Institute of Directors. A leader in digital transformation, Mr. Ram is actively involved in digital adoption and exploring the potential of generative AI in banking. Mr. Jalpesh Shah, Vertical Head Credit Analytics and Innovation, Data Science of HDFC Bank Limited. He spearheads the data science, artificial intelligence, and the integration of alternate data sources in the bank. With extensive experience across multiple industries, including banking, telecommunications, insurance, and consulting, Mr. Jalpesh has consistently driven analytics initiatives that deliver substantial business value. His proven record spans diverse domains such as credit risk assessment, fraud analytics, anti-money laundering, churn management, and cross-sell and upsell. And our last panel member today for the conference here is our very own Mr. Buchi Babu. He is also a very senior visiting faculty with IIBF. So he's a seasoned IT professional with over 40 years of experience in the banking industry, specializing in digital transformation, cybersecurity, and emerging technologies. He was the Bank of India's ex-General Manager IT, CIO, and Advisor IT. He's been an advisor to many banks on IT and cybersecurity. He holds a key position as a member of the IT Advisory Board, the Information Security Steering Committee of Punjab and Sindh Bank, and the Expert IT Committee of IIBF. The IIBF's certification course material on emerging technologies has been authored by Mr. Buchi Babu, and we thank him for that, for contributing his expertise and giving us for our certification course. And his other specialization areas include cybersecurity, IT governance, cloud computing, AI, machine learning, blockchain, data science, data analytics. associated with many leading banking and educational institutions. So, with this, I request our moderator, Dr. Basim, to kindly take over, and he has 40 minutes. I can say 30 minutes, sir, because we need to start with the next annual lecture also. Thank you.
Thank you, Soumya. So good afternoon, welcome all the delegates, participants, panelists, bankers, faculty, subject matter experts, and participants for present here for the panel discussion, data-driven banking, leveraging big data and artificial intelligence. So already we have seen that during the second session transformation, we have already gone inside that the transformation which is happening in the various countries in India in the last 3 or 4 decades. And today where we have reached that, we find that digital transformation is basically blurring the lines between the digital, physical and the biological spheres. We have moved from cloud computing to AI and big data, and then now we're moving to the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution that is shaping every aspect. And banking is also we are facing the. But the first question or the point of discussion which our panelists will be answering today, like suddenly we have seen that data has gained the importance for last 5 years or 10 years, we can see. And basically the banks have already been generating data right from the account opening or lending or through lockers. So what special has happened in the last decade that data has become a new oil or data has become a new currency? And similarly, artificial intelligence also, if you Google, artificial intelligence is also not a new thing. It has been coined in 1950 by the two computer scientists, Mr. Alan Turing and John McCarthy, who has given the basics of decision sciences or mathematical or statistical use of the various regression analysis to analyze. Then suddenly what happened that we had every seminar, conferences, or even we are talking about artificial intelligence. So that our panelists will be answering in that why it has become important and how it has been used. Before that, I want to discuss two important messages where our RBI governor last month have given in his two statements. On 27th October, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das in his address at G30 annual interconference emphasized that inavailability of digital money. And he said the future of money has to be digital and there is no escape from it. But on the other side, in another conference, he has said the unchecked use of AI, which is posing the risk to the banking, that is a consultation risk, market invalidity or the cyber attacks. But data is important, and the first question to my panel, general question during the initial remark. So why you think and how in like Philippines in your country, India? So why suddenly that data has become important or data scientist or data analyst has gained more importance and how big data and AI is being used by the banks in future? So initial remark, I think all panelists can answer and then we can. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Definitely, we need data to have an intelligent decision. But data has to be clean. That data has to be verifiable.
Yes.
Data has to be secured. At the same time, data should also be protected, and we have to make sure that these data are reliable, and we obtain permission from the data owner that they allow us to use their data. And of course, we can do some anonymizing, or we mask some of the information, but we also have to protect the data privacy of the user. But data in itself cannot help us make quality decision, because data has to be transformed into knowledge, and from knowledge you have to transform that into insight.
Yes.
And from insight you come out with what you call the imperatives, no? The business imperatives.
Yes.
Otherwise, data in itself, because as described by our guest speaker, very well said, it's so huge, so complex, coming from external and internal, and you have to integrate them, combine them to make sense out of it, weave them together. It's like different threads, different tapestry, and you come out with a beautiful piece of cloth. So data-driven banking is, in my opinion, is still in the early stage. Although we would like to believe that we are probably getting there, but the technology is already there. But we need data engineer, domain subject matter experts to make sense out of this data.
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Shah, data scientist, so he will be answering all our queries. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bhasin. I'll carry over from what Neri has said. So if I go back a few decades back, at one point of time, the data occupied in my desk was only a fraction of all the applications. Today, it is just exponentially very high. I think the applications are very small. Data is huge, huge, huge. And that is the reason I think all the banks and of course all the institutions are going for data governance. We are looking at data lineage. Lot of things we have started building around it. There's a big data science which is behind it. And we need to integrate, as Mr. Neri has very correctly said, that we need to find out what are the crown jewels inside the data. What are the data points we need to take. And then from there build on the use cases which we need. See how it has developed over a period of time. I said that initially, I think when the systems started developing, we saw the power of data. So we used to collect very limited data. And then when we found that the data has huge power, we started collecting more data and more data and more data. And then today we have such big data that it has become, I would say, unmanageable, and that is why data governance has come.
Yes.
So now we have to manage the data. Obviously, the amount of information what we have collected today makes huge and very good sense. I think this use of data, of course ethically, use of data for various purposes, including generative AI, has got a lot of applications in our day-to-day. There are a lot of use cases in our day-to-day life. I think the type of enthusiasm which was generated when we first saw a PC on the table, I think today the same enthusiasm is coming from generative AI. Generative AI has immense power. I'll just recollect last week, when I went to college first year, I was carrying a tea and drawing on the drawing boards. My son, who is in first year college, in the first week, he is learning prompt engineering. So he is learning how to manage AI. He is not learning how to draw the diagram. He is learning what prompt engineering will do. It will guide AI and get the results what you want. So the times have changed drastically, and I think behind all these things is data, which we are going to use extensively. So data and quality data will matter in a big way.
Thank you, Mr. Shah.
Yeah, I think some of the points are already covered by Balaji, my fellow panelists, so I will not repeat them. When I look back, right, and when I started my career as a data scientist, right, data science was a very niche field, right? I mean, most of the companies, and I started my career with Genpact, right? So Genpact and GE had that culture that they had a lot of onboarding training and they were teaching people how to work with the data, right? But at that time, right, when I look back, 1999, 2000, right, definition of big data is anything above 1 GB, right? Because people were afraid to handle anything more than 1 GB, right? Now, in today's age, we are talking about data in petabytes and exabytes, right? Because we have that confidence of handling that much big data. So the way volume has grown up, right, parallelly the suite of algos and the infra stack has also evolved over a period of time. With the whole evolution of cloud technology right now, today if my team wants to work with any data, they have that comfort that they have to just spin up the cluster with the right configuration and they will manage that data. Earlier, that thing was not there, right? And earlier we were talking about linear models or finding linear patterns from the data. Then there was a whole evolution of machine learning models finding non-linear patterns. Now then evolution of deep learning, OCR, NLP, now we are in Gen AI era, right? When you ask machine and machine can do anything for you, right? So I think we came a long way, but as fellow panelists said, right data and ethical usage of the data, both things are very important, and a lot of governance around this is definitely required. GenAI, I think it's still evolving, and every day we see that new things are coming up, new models are coming up. For us also, it's a very difficult to keep a pace with it. But yeah, as new things are coming up, we need to make our regulatory ecosystem also more robust. Yeah, that's what I would say.
But the why word science, data science, it means some engineers, banker need to understand engineering also, like Python. Now banker also need to understand Python, because if they have to use algorithms, and then what do you think that in future data science also can be one of the qualification for bankers to?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So the way I say it, right, whenever we build any model, and I come with a credit risk and fraud risk background, I feel 70% is a domain knowledge, right? This Python, PySpark, Hive, all are tools, right? That helps you to run the various algorithms. But I keep telling my team that focus on learning domain knowledge. If I go to my line team, right, and I tell him that, can you tell me why you are tagging this document as a fraudulent? He will say, sir, I have seen this pattern, this pattern. What machine is doing is just coding that human intelligence in the form of features or XGBoost, boosting, bagging algorithms, right? And we are trying to arrive at a machine. We are trying to embed human intelligence in the form of model equation or a complex model, right? But ultimately, I would say, just for the sake of repetition, domain knowledge is more important. That I would definitely give 70% of the weightage. And whether it's a Python, PySpark, all these languages, GenAI, are the tools to achieve the right output.
As Mr. Neri said, na, because data need to be organized, cleaning.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that generally a banker who is like, they don't understand how to cleaning data or like the things.
Yeah,
so,
for this,
but that it has
all
to be
this
software.
infra stack and algo stack are very helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Yes, Mr. Bujibaba, sir, your views.
Ahmed. Probably where my career, my entire data was on 250. It was in KBs. I was running the entire, am I audible, right?
Yeah.
Running the a current account on a computer which didn't have a hard disk. Okay. Then we improved. We used to be proud of a 300 MB big computer, 300 MB I'm talking about. And now, when I retired, I was talking about 300 TB. I was digging into 300 to 400 TB of my data warehouse and taking out that, like analyzing the data. So one of the distinct quality I have here is probably I'm the one who did in COBOL and started learning Python at the age of 63 to write a book, tried all the algos. So coming to the question, the data. So the issue is we didn't have the power. A small computer like that, I know we bought at 80,000 in the year 1987. Now you think of it, my mobile is much, maybe thousands or million times better than that. Now, as our computer power has increased, we thought we'll analyze, because there is an ROI for analyzing the data also. So when I say big data, it's not the volume. Volumes we already had. I don't say if I'm sitting on 600 TB of data, it is not a big data. The quality is the speed at which it comes, and the processing power I need to really, and the variety is not the reason. So we started with the database, Foxpros, of data marts, then data lake. Now we are talking about data oceans. Now my worry is, oceans and lakes, are we exploring these lakes? Most of it is unstructured data. The problem is everybody talks of big data, and unstructured data, as Balaji was referring to, is very rarely really analyzed, and if you vouch for that. So everybody talks about AI. I tell you, AI is not a magic, as he rightly said. Data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, there are many qualities. Only a data scientist like him, he needs domain, he needs a little bit statistical thing, a little bit of programming, and finally taking people together, right? That is the data scientist role. So what I feel is data is definitely required, and as we go through, we'll discuss more on how to really utilize them, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Bujibaba, sir. First question to Mr. Neri, that what do you think how banks are expanding use of big data and AI technologies to improve customer experiences and even back office processes?
Well, as far as our bank is concerned, we make use of scripts that, depending on this question, this will be the script that you will be responding to a particular customer. Given this scenario, this question,
Okay.
you have a set of answers. And in the Philippines, we combine chat and
Humanoid.
human interaction. So there is a computer beside the call center agent, no? And the answer will be scripted. I mean, it's based on what's already in the playbook.
Fine.
So it helps give a more responsive answer to your customer.
Okay.
So by using that, no. But actually, that's the least use of data, because in our case we use data analysis for fraud detection and fraud analysis, especially on our 7x24 hour monitoring of attacks, no? Through our MSOC, Managed Security Operations Center. So we look at various movements, mass data being getting out of your network, no? So these are monitored. These are anomalous or probably anomalous movements of data.
Okay.
So we make use of data analytics to analyze those data or whatever.
Thank you. My next question is, what do you think the challenges or obstacle which prevents banks in India from deploying AI capabilities in full, or how you think can become AI first? Like,
Obviously, banks will become AI first. See, at one, I think if you see a decade back, we were telling that mobile first. I think today all banks are mobile first. So all banks will become AI first. How quickly? That's the question. I think how quickly they can adopt AI and how quickly they can roll out. First point, what I will tell from the practical point of view is that what I have seen, we have got a large human resource base. We have employed people from different aspects, and basically what Mr. Jalpe said, ki domain knowledge is important, and we have onboarded mostly bankers in the banking industry. So they have their good domain knowledge. Now I think they have to undergo some training initially so that they learn how to use analytics, how to use AI, how to use the entire gamut of machine learning. To start with, I think most of the technology companies today, they are running capsule courses on generative AI. And it is mandatory for each one of them to pass those courses until they complete those courses, because these employees in technology companies are using bots for day-to-day work. So even if a coder is sitting, he is assisted by a bot. So his productivity, I think I have got a lot of youngsters who are using ChatGPT extensively, and they have gone for paid subscription. So they are paying for it and they are using it extensively. Just by use of that, their productivity is 2x, 3x.
okay.
Today, in the entire, of course, I'm talking about public sector banks, equally holds for other banks too, is that the employees be trained on machine learning, on analytics, and especially what I was just telling, prompt engineering. They should know how to use the thing. And to start with, I think they should go for a course. So that's the first part of it. The second part is that the quality of legacy data we have got huge data. I think we have stored data for decades together. But as Mr. Babu has correctly said, we have got an ocean of data. But in the ocean, it is hard to find out. If you have a lake, it is easier to find fish. If it is a pond, it's still easier to find fish. But in an ocean, it's very hard. So I think the amount of data we have to go for data governance. We have to get it structured. We have to have the data lineage. in place. Based on that only, I think we will be in a position to use this data effectively.
Are we training the people, employees for this on some training programs, or how
Yes.
we are capacity building, how we are building?
Capacity building, in fact, quite a few institutes, including IIBF, I think they have got a lot of courses for that. Apart from that, all other institutes like IDRBT, NIBM, they are slowly going into that. That one part of it, and with this, the real capacity cannot, I think, online courses and some mandatory courses which the employees can do over the weekend or at the comfort of their home, I think that is the need of the hour, so that each and every employee has to be part of this.
Thank you. My next question, Mr. Shah, what do you think the relationship between artificial intelligence being a technology and big data, and how they can work together for better synergies? Better synergies between because artificial is a technology and big data is data we have. So what do you think, in what way we can have a more synergies and beneficial?
Sure. So as far as data and AI is concerned, right, I think this combination can be used across entire customer life cycle, right? So since I come from risk domain in HDFC Bank, I would like to give some examples and use cases from that perspective. So today we have a huge base of existing liability customers, right? And if I want to give any pre-approved offers, we run a lot of machine learning algorithms on top of that to identify the customers who are pre-qualified for certain offers, right? Once I do that, then the next question is which product should I pitch to that customer? That also we are leveraging AI.
Fine.
Now, post-COVID, in this digital era, what we have seen is there are new types of fraud coming in, right? And fraudsters know that every bank is having a certain mechanism of generating a unique ID. We can call it as a customer ID or account number, UCC ID, etc. Right? So the fraudster, what they do is, for example, person A is coming, right? He is having 2-3 things common. He is sharing only one attribute with B, and B is sharing only one attribute with C, right? So there we are using graph technology to identify the network of the people who are not directly connected, but they are indirectly connected, right? So person A and B is having email ID common, B and C is having address common. So we are trying to identify those networks, and then how can we restrict exposure to that network level, right? So that we can, risk can be minimized, right? So that is the first stage. Now, when I go to the next stage, at acquisition stage, there also we have our credit risk and fraud risk models running to identify the potential credit risk customers or fraudulent customers, right? So that's one example. Then when I move to, once loan is disbursed, then it comes a collection, right? Then what is the propensity of this guy, whether he will auto cure, he will pay on time, or do I need to do some human intervention? If the guy goes into bucket one, right? So basically whether he will straight away move to NPA, or what is the probability, right? So there also we use a lot of machine learning models, right? So this is one category of use cases. Now when it comes to OCR or NLP, right? When we get all the documents, how do we read contents from the documents automatically? All these things we use AI. And last example I would like to give is usage of behavioral data, right? So to prevent transaction fraud, when Jalpesh as a customer logs into the net banking, I know that he is having a certain speed of typing his credentials, what is his mouse movement, etc. Right? If Jalpesh is a victim of account takeover fraud, then fraudster will not definitely depict the same pattern what we have seen in the past for that customer. So for that also we are having various models that how can we capture this behavior and try to identify anomalous behavior and not allow those kind of transactions proceeding without having a confirmation from the call.
And HDFC, I think, was the first bank to introduce robotic process automation, many branches. So how was the experience that, branches robots are there who are doing servicing and
physical? If you are referring to physical robots at the branches, I think that was that was way back. And
way back.
Yeah, I'm to be honest, I was not part of those projects, so would not be right for me to comment. Yeah.
So my next question to Buchi Babu, that how AI and big data affect compliance and risk management, and what do you think the role of AI in transforming credit risk management banking?
When we talk of compliance, is it compliance of the banks where it helps, or complying with usage of AI, right? Whether we comply with those kinds of things or not. So when you see, I already touched upon many things, including like no, to start with simply with the KYC. If we spend money at the data center and in terms of cybersecurity to identify whether it is Mr. Ram or Kalpesh or whatever it is. So if you are able to do that, as he rightly said, one thing is onboarding. At the time of onboarding, just identify. You throw any card to that. Nowadays, video KYC. Thanks to video KYC, a lot of AI goes into that. It recognizes the card, goes to the places, picks the data, and comes back and verifies and comes. This is one area which is really useful. This is based on the documents. But as he rightly said, okay, he is genuine, his password is genuine, but his he may be copying somebody. There, the behavioral things and all will come. We can pitch in more. That really AI can come into there, and we'll spend less on cybersecurity. Just identifying a person, every bank spends a lot of money. Okay. Then, as said, database credit modeling. The banks have different models. Every bank has its own credit rating model. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know why. Like AI also like no. Sorry, little bit diverting from that. I have only 3 or 4 core banking vendors. My data elements are same, and everybody wants to reinvent. I don't tell Mr. Ram doesn't tell to sir Hindi sir. This kind of thing. We don't have a like core banking. We know it's commonly used by everybody. Similarly, because my regulators requirements are there, my pains are common. Can I not have some kind of democratized knowledge or a centralized place where somebody where I can throw the data and get it back? Because we don't know. Everybody has its own this thing. For example, a bank starts with a small set of people, a data scientist. He sits in a corner and starts working on it using some Python or Spark, whatever database. But that's not the way. Okay, let's have some kind of common. Maybe somebody, central authority can come on. These are my pains in the banking industry. You don't reinvent it. This is how we do it. Then whatever you want to do extra, you do it, so that we don't spend money on that. This is where one thing is onboarding. You have the early warning signals. Early warning signals, knowing that customer is going to be bad, is going to default. So RBI came out with some 41 kind of thing, out of which hardly 15 come from the system, remaining from the rest of the world. There the AI can pitch in, collect all the information, put it together, and give a overall view of this thing. And there are many things where complaints can happen. Of time, even in the cyber security, we can it really works. That's for the timing. This is how it is.
Thank you, sir. Next question open to all the panelists. Anybody can answer or all can give the view. But what are your views on the unchecked use of banking? Like, as I told Mr. RBI Governor, that too much of unchecked will pose risk in the banking, like excessive reliance, that is like market concentration or system instability or vulnerability to cyber attack. So what do you think, mix and match, like how AI can be used? So the risk which is there, that should be like covered on. Anyone?
So when I talk about machine learning models, right, when we started this model around 4 or 5 years back, I mean, that's where era has moved from linear model to non-linear model. Initially, there was a bit of resistance from stakeholder side as well as from internal validation units, etc. But once people get comfortable that how the techniques work and what are the benefits it's bringing on the table, then I think there is a strong framework around it. Now, this new era of Gen AI, right? There, I think a lot of resistance is still there, right? And I think it's a fair also that no one fully understands that on which data it was trained. What if I give a prompt A, then what kind of response I can expect, right? So there are two kind of use cases, right? One is your internal audience facing and one is a customer facing, right? So both the category of use cases we are treating slightly differently. When the use cases which are more towards improving productivity. So for example, my team has built a logic has written a code in Python. Now they want to convert into PySpark, right? Initially they used to spend 2-3 days in doing conversion. Now they can give it to AI. So there we need to be careful that we are not giving this code to such a LLM where data is going outside bank environment. So that we need to be very careful that we put our use case to internal AI ML council. They evaluate and they authenticate that we are using the right LLM which is hosted in the bank environment only. So yeah, so all rights and checks and balances are very important. Otherwise, there are a lot of adverse impacts, especially when use cases are customer facing.
Fine.
Yeah. See, ethical and non-ethical use of any power, what we is always a debate. If you remember when nuclear power was discovered, so ethical use of nuclear power, and today we have nuclear medicine, we have got so much, and nuclear energy, nuclear, but the destructive part of it is equally there. So anything like this, when it comes up, it will have a negative impact. I think today the regulation is good enough. It has to be regulated. I never vouch that key. And the ethical use, obviously, to draw the line between ethical and non-ethical is very thin in these cases.
Yes.
That challenge will be there, and of course, the regulation which is there today is good enough. Regulation will obviously, the way this science is developing, progressing, in the same way, the regulation will also catch up with that, and it will be controlled. But at the same point, I would vouch that this is one area which is going to help the mankind in a very, very big way, and this has to be promoted, and this has to be supported.
Thank you, sir. So final question, that it's a time to frame out the clear regulation for use of AI in the banking operation, because as of now there are no comprehensive regulation. So do you think that's the right time the RBI should come, like digital lending they have come, or recently RBI banned NBFCs from digital lending. So what do you think that some regulation should be there in AI, what we use, where, what not to use, or where we can use?
Presently, the use of AI is very minuscule. Today, if you take, we are mainly doing analytics part of it. We are yet to move to AI part of it. So the regulation which is today is quite good enough, I would say. And as we move, I think only in India, as far as I remember, the statistics says that the use of generative AI is limited to 4 to 5% only. So the regulation which is there is good enough. Obviously, regulation has to catch up. So it has to be regulated, because we always have black sheep in the industry. People will be there who will exploit that. We have a wonderful platform of UPI which has been brought by NPCI. But we had cases where people were using it for other than the purpose for what it was meant. So the regulations has to be there, and obviously it will catch up with the development.
Thank you. Anything you want?
Yeah. There is an RBI circular saying that how we should use, what are the do's and don'ts. Okay, to some extent it's the basic level. Ultimately, whenever I look at any circular from the regulator, it is more on the interest of the customer, and also in the kind of strength of the bank. These are the folks, that's what I saw. So they don't look at it as an AI. They're doing AI, what are the implications? What is that you are likely to lose? What kind of things can happen? That will be the focus. AI will never, technology will never be the focus, but the way you use it, which can lead to known kind of thing. So that way they have given a reasonable thing. One is what earlier question, I'll just to come back on that. We are really worried about the bias part of it. The guy who models it, it depends on him. It can lead to a disaster if you believe someday it fails. You believed it, it didn't fail. Things have changed. This is where, of course, data is always, threat is always there. Okay. So they have come out with some regulations, but nobody is mature. So we are in a very nascent stage. Fortunately, I'm with a few banks. Okay, people are learning it. Maybe analytics is shown as AI, not real AI kind of thing. And some people are really seriously doing great job.
Thank you. Mr. Neri, anything? In regulation in Philippines, how?
Well, there are existing regulations that more or less address the risks associated with the use of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is just a modern, powerful IT tool. No? So it's no different from other tools. So we have existing regulations on the management of IT, risk management of IT. So there is no extra need at this stage for a regulation.
Thank you. Last question, Mr. What do you think, like bias in algorithm? Because regulators, Dr. Again, RBI governor has mentioned that embedding of bias into algorithm using for credit decisions. So, just quick point like that, your security. So, how this bias come into algorithm for our audience? Like,
So I think as far as any model is concerned, be it a credit risk model, model, or for that matter, any AI model, two aspects are very important. One is ML explainability, and second one is bias, right? Model explainability and bias both are interlinked, and there are tools available. How do you explain the model, and how do you detect bias in the model? Whenever data scientist develops the model, there are certain tests which he or she is supposed to do to understand that how the whether model is biased or not. And if we feel that model is biased, required approval should be taken, right? Now, just to give an example, right? Whenever we build any model, right? And for that matter, any credit risk model, right? Depending on a product, self-employed versus salaried, will always show some kind of differentiation as far as your delinquency is concerned, right? Now, do you really call it as a bias? Answer may be no, because that is how the business runs. Business has to differentiate and take a call accordingly, right? So some biases are not allowed, right? For example, gender bias, you should not be using those kind of variables in the model. So we have certain guidelines that which are the steps data scientists should follow while developing the model. Yeah.
thank you, sir. Conclude that from this panel that data is important and data-driven banking is like all the emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, IoT, and different models which we are basically focusing on the customer experience or customer service, and then risk management. And challenges will be there because if we have moved from manual banking system, we have moved to electronic, digital. At that time also challenges were there. People are not ready to move to the RTGS or the ECS, EFT. There were many banks saying, no, we cannot forego the float of demand drafts and all that. But again, times are changing, and those banks who are not using it, again, it will be like a marketing strategy also. Like I remember when some banks used to have RTGS facility, they used to put outside the door of the bank, we are RTGS enabled bank, or we are having a locker facility. So this is the future, artificial intelligence, but again, as per our discussion, we conclude that this is the future, digital money will continue, but again, the checks and balances should be there, risk management, and then we see that number of new innovations are coming. Yes, as Mr. Shah said, that bankers also, young bankers, people learning, and IIBF also have many courses on emerging technologies and cyber security. So these will be challenging, and with this, our learning keep on and the life move on. So we are not in India, but all the countries, they are moving toward this future of banking. And I always wish that we should become a future AI, all the banks, and we'll move. So thank you all the panelists for your eminent expert advice, and I hope audience have enjoyed it. Thank you.
I call upon Director of Operations, Mr. Francis Amalanathan, to kindly honor our panel members with a memento.